Welcome back to Streaming Media West 2018. I'm Tim Siglin, contributing editor with Streaming Media Magazine and the founding executive director of the not-for-profit Help Me Stream. Today I've got JD Fox with me from PrestoSports. JD, you were telling me, though, people know you from another company. What was that company's name?
Yeah, Stretch Internet. So basically, back in April, we were acquired, and part of that is a name transition. So we're taking 3 companies in the college sports space and we're cramming them together into one kind of college sports division.
Okay.
So the other companies were mainly focused in the web and in statistics. So obviously Stretch Internet was a video streaming provider, so that's kind of the streaming portion of it as well. So we're providing kind of a more end-to-end, well-rounded solution.
Okay. So it was Stretch and Presto, and what was the third company?
SID Help.
SID, okay. So one of the topics you all were starting to talk about in your last panel and sort of got sidetracked on was reach for audiences of smaller leagues. Talk to me a little bit about that, because that's intriguing to me.
Yeah, it really comes down to how do you grow your audience when you don't have that name recognition? If you end up on a platform and people are able, whether it's OTT or something else, and people flip through the channels, they may not know your school. So how do you grab them? How do you get that attention? How do you do something to look big league, and how do you kind of grab that audience?
Sure.
And then the secondary part of that is obviously trying to take your audience and grow it through technology as well. So whether you're bringing in social media into your broadcast and bringing some interactivity to it, or you're empowering the community with bringing in outside people to help run cameras or things like that, and kind of creating a grassroots movement as well. There's a couple different ways that people have done it, because at the end of the day, people are trying to monetize streaming in the sports world. That's been one of the big things that we've seen with ESPN Plus going to the model that they're going to of, hey, we're going to get rights agreements and the end user is going to pay a small monthly fee. That's kind of where the sports world is going. So what we try to do at the smaller school level, and even for some of our larger school clients, is give them a focused audience. So basically we have people who are wanting to see that content specifically and pay for that content specifically. So how do we take that and grow it to monetize it for them?
So in traditionally for small schools, they may have had a campus radio station that people locally who had gone to that school could listen to, alumni. Is the same true for this Payton model? Is it primarily alumni for these smaller schools, or is it people who love the sport and are looking to find the next big thing in terms of a small school that has star players? Yeah,
so really it's a little, parents are the number one focus group of the targeted market. I mean, they're built-in audience though.
Sure.
So really what you have to do is you have to engage with the alumni associations like you mentioned, or if you've got a pipeline, a sport that you're really solid in, you're nationally ranked all the time, how do you grow the streaming of that sport, which people are interested in, and how do you attract that audience to the rest of your offerings?
Okay. And what about moving down into high school? Do you think that will happen in the near term, or will that take some time?
There are some companies that are doing that, and we have some high school clients as well. The big issue that people are trying to figure out is the monetization of that. I mean, really it's tough to get a community in a 5-mile radius that might care about a particular school. It's tough to get them to sit home and watch the game when they can just go to the game. True. So really there are a few different models that people have tried in the high school space, and I think we're all just still as a community trying to figure it out. One of the things I like trying to approach it as is we look at the newspaper industry, and that bleeds down to, where do those newspaper guys start? High school newspapers. That's what I grew up on, and obviously that's no more, but video programs in high school are big. Now a lot of them are focusing the students on doing things like being a YouTube influencer and things like that, but you can take that talent and give them a skill that they can go on and go to college for, something like that. So being able to run a multi-camera production with students, make it a class environment and use the sporting as kind of the main thing while also doing other campus events is definitely a way I like to shape it.
And that may be the issue sort of at the high school level, is the inconsistency of video capture and live capture, where at a college level, as you say, you've got a department that's sort of focused on that kind of thing, the television and broadcast department, say, and the kids are doing that as their extra credit
It's really because it's kind of required in the college space. Exactly. It's not yet to the point where it's required in the high school space.
That's a good point.
So that you really have to get them to buy in on something to grow this, and really student education is the big thing that we try to focus on. And make them realize that in a way you're kind of marketing your school, but you're really providing a service for your students, and then you're also helping your student athletes at the end of the day. You have a nice 3-camera production and they're trying to get recruited to a big school. I mean, cutting a highlight tape from that is a lot better than cutting a highlight tape off of somebody's phone.
Right, that's true. So what's sort of the biggest technical challenge for these smaller schools?
Connectivity is generally the number one thing. So when we look at school districts, they're a little bit different than a college level. There might be one IT person for an entire school district. And while schools are becoming more and more in line with having wireless internet and having wired internet, it's getting IT professionals from this district on site to open 1935 so they can stream, things like that. So the other is kind of the misconception of how much it costs to do everything. I mean, technology and cameras are getting better and everything's getting cheaper. We've got great wireless solutions now that are available at a fraction of the price that we looked at wireless before. We have great companies that are doing the automated production that fit really well in the high school market. So really it's education and then kind of just clearing the technology hurdle of, hey, you have internet, let's use it for the production.
And is the same true on a technological basis for the small colleges? Do those colleges, they have connectivity? What might be the technical challenges for them?
The technical challenge is getting them not to just settle. So they're basically required for coaching and other reasons. They have to film the game. So we're starting usually with a 1-camera setup. And it might be a little handy cam style camcorder, and getting them to realize that, okay, that's great, you guys are getting this content in game online, but hey, if you add a second camera angle, if you add another audio source, if you do these little minor things, the quality of the production and people wanting to come back to watch it grows immensely.
So quality is the primary issue, and consistency of quality.
Yeah, exactly. And from a streaming rights standpoint, we're at a very conference level now. So basically, the conferences can dictate the platform, the provider, that sort of thing. So what you have to do is you're not competing against the world necessarily, you're competing against your conference. And from a conference's standpoint, they want everybody to be uniform. And of course, that's not going to happen because you've got, generally in a conference, you've got schools that have more resources, whether it be just from a body count standpoint to just funding.
The boosters,
exactly. So you've got some, you might have a school that's got a nice TriCaster and running a 4-camera setup, and you might have a school running a on-camera hardware encoder with a little $300 handy cam. I mean, so trying to bridge the gap is also the big challenge there, and getting people to realize that they can do that and they can do it affordably.
I'd love to check in a year from now with you and see kind of where that's gone, because I can see that we really are on the cusp of at least the small colleges being able to attract an audience. I guess the last question here is more a business question. You were talking about how people would pay to watch these particular schools. Will there be models that say, whether it's ESPN Plus or what have you, that will give you free access to all these smaller schools for a week, so you can see a whole bunch of schools and decide which ones you want to follow?
Yeah, so from our business perspective, free to view is still the primary use. It's just people are now seeing this as a monetization play. They see it as the ability to make money as opposed to spending money on streaming to be able to make money from it. But yeah, I do think that once we get more universal monetization, there's going to be some great opportunities to have trials and have ways to show that, hey, these schools are stepping up their game and bringing high quality content that people want to see.
Awesome, great. JD, appreciate your time, and we'll be right back after a break.